More fallout from the Jed Spence and Mickey van der Ven snub on Thomas Frank, with one report stating what Spence said to Frank. The Harry Kane transfer rumours that continue to heat up the Spurs are also linked with another striker. Scrutiny builds on Thomas Frank after Saturday's match against Chelsea, and the TalkSport Pundit weighs in on two underperforming Tottenham players. Here are your daily Tottenham news headlines. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Craig and here are your daily Tottenham news headlines where I'll be going through all the latest news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube and are not already as yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Like, share and comment below. And if you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. Okay, let's get into it. The Daily Mail report and ask, what did Jed Spence say to Thomas Frank as he stormed off the pitch after Tottenham's 1-0 defeat by Chelsea on Saturday? That's the question on everybody's lips and we can answer it. Chris Cowling's exclusive video of Spence and Mickey van der Ven stole the headlines when they blanked Frank, refusing his handshake and leaving him alone on the turf, a worrying sign as Oliver Holt has written. Now, an expert lip reader has told the Daily Mail what Spence said as he vented at his boss and damaged the team's image of unity. "I ain't doing it, go away," is what the New England Star told Frank, according to lip reader Jeremy Freeman, before waving off his manager's hand. In between those comments, Spence is believed to have said, "Leave me off," although it is not entirely clear. Tottenham podcaster Chris caught the flashpoint on camera as Spurs were booed off after coming up short again at home against Chelsea. Afterwards, Frank tried to downplay the incident's significance, saying all of the players are, of course, frustrated. They would like to do well, they would like to win, they would like to perform well, so I understand that. I think it is difficult to be consistent in good times and in bad times. That is why I went around to the fans as I did. It is more fun when we win, I can tell you that. I think that is one of the small issues we have. Mickey and Jed, who are doing everything they can. They perform very well so far this season and everyone is frustrated. We do things in a different way, so I don't think it is a big problem. I'm managing only 0.05 XG, Frank continued. I would, of course, say it hurt massively. I've never been in charge of a team that created so little in one game. Never. That will, of course, I will look into and make it better. On the boos at full time, he said, yes, 100%. We all sense the frustration and the emotions. That's part of football. It's extremely painful. Of course, it's part of the job to face you guys now and answer your very good questions when you're just burning inside and you would like to find solutions and you want to watch the game back and see what went wrong and all that. But it's about trying to stay calm in general. I think Chelsea were good. We were definitely second best and we performed badly. TBR Football report that Tottenham are believed to have been satisfied that the incident involving Mickey van der Ven and Jed Spence was not a slight on Frank, according to BBC Sport. Instead, the club believe the players' frustration was aimed at the supporters who booed them off against their West London rivals. The Danish head coach appeared to go and ask the pair to applaud the fans, but neither obliged and headed straight to the dressing room. The mood at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is rather low right now, with the Lily Whites having lost 12 of their 20 Premier League home matches in 2025. However, many fans will argue that performances under Frank and Ange Postecoglou in North London have been pretty abhorrent to watch. Michael Richards believes van der Ven's decision to snub Frank looked worse than it was, with the vice-captain simply frustrated by the result. Richards told The Rest is Football, this could be just a thing where they were so frustrated by the game and it looked worse than it was, which it was probably the case. But if it wasn't, the manager has to take a stance, I think. Gary Lineker added that the incident was not a great look, but understood van der Ven's reluctance to address the fans having been partly at fault for the goal. Maybe the two of them have gone, we've had a nightmare. I can't go and face the fans because it was our fault. So you've got to be careful because we don't know all the details. But at the same time, to dismiss your manager in front of everybody is not a great look, added Lineker. Caught offside report that Harry Kane's future at Bayern Munich has taken a dramatic twist, with reports from Spanish outlet Sport revealing that the England captain is seriously considering a shock move to Barcelona next summer. His performances have made Bayern Munich a force in the Bundesliga and in European football, alongside the likes of Kylian Mbappe and Erling Haaland. Kane has made a stunning start to the season. Despite this, Sport reports that the forward is open to exploring new opportunities when his €65 million release clause becomes active at the end of the season. The clause negotiated into his Bayern deal by his representatives is expected to trigger a flurry of interest from Europe's biggest clubs, with Barcelona reportedly positioning themselves at the front of the queue. The Catalan giants, currently reshaping their attack under Hansi Flick, see Kane as the ideal experienced striker to eventually succeed Robert Lewandowski, who turns 38 next year. While Kane remains committed to Bayern for now, his contract terms give him the flexibility. Kane is happy in Munich, but he's always been open to new experiences if the timing and projects are right. Bayern, for their part, are determined to keep their star man, yet with Barcelona's long-standing admiration, the appeal of Spain's lifestyle and the possibility of writing a new chapter in his glittering career, the idea of Kane trading Bavaria for Catalonia is no longer far-fetched. Kane's former club Tottenham are reportedly exploring the opportunity to bring Kane back to North London as well. And Manchester United are also expected to be in the race to sign Kane if he decides to leave Bayern Munich. Spurs themselves, however, according to a report via Sport Witness, are now in the lead in the race to sign Porto striker Samu Agehowa, alongside Chelsea, with the London rivals potentially set to do battle for his signature. The Portuguese club are now willing to sanction the departure of the player for £70 million and have an £88 million release clause included in his contract. The Standard report that Spurs have lost 10 of their last 12 matches against Chelsea, but defeat on Saturday was the new low, with the XG of 0.05 is the lowest they have recorded in Premier League history since records began. There was no semblance of an attacking plan beyond aimless long ball towards the isolated Randall Kolo-Muani, or hoping Mohamed Kudus could beat three men. Spurs trailed for an hour and managed 2 shots in that time. It was a night that Thomas Frank will find hard to forget. Regardless of how Spurs respond against Copenhagen and Manchester United, this defeat will not be easily forgotten. The Spurs supporters will not tolerate such insipid football. Frank is a fairly reactive manager, setting up his teams to nullify the opposition's strengths rather than focusing on his own side's desire. There was already a section of the fan base unconvinced by the style of play this season, for all the results have been generally good, and a performance so bad against such bitter rivals will have more making up their mind. Frank has been keen to point out that the team are adapting without the key attackers from last season, and there is no doubt that injuries to Solanke and Kulusevski and Maddison have had an impact. Spurs' home form is abysmal, with 3 wins from the last 19 Premier League home matches. Frank, ahead of this match, called for the fans to bring the noise against Chelsea. The music was stopped 5 minutes ahead of kick-off to allow the atmosphere to build organically, and there were pyrotechnics to go with a Frank-narrated montage. The effort was made by the club and the fans for this to be a defining moment of the Frank era that could yet still prove true in a different way than intended. Spurs now sit 5th in the table, but results are now more in line with what the eye test has been suggesting. Of their Premier League wins so far, 4 are over teams 15th or lower, and a 94th minute equaliser scraped to points against winless Wolves. Defeat to Chelsea in that manner on home soil was the lowest point of Frank's reign so far. These are still early days, but Manchester United, Arsenal, PSG and Newcastle all loom in the next month. It could quickly become a long road back. Football Fancast report that TalkSport pundit and Spurs fan Jamie O'Hara slams worst £60 million ever spent on Xavi Simons and another Tottenham star. When asked whether he understood the supporters' frustrations, Frank said, yes, 100%. We all sense the frustration and the emotions that is part of football. It is extremely painful, and it is, of course, the part of the job to face you guys now and answer the very good questions when you're just burning inside. But speaking on X after the Chelsea defeat, the former Tottenham midfielder O'Hara described the performance against Chelsea as terrible, branded Simons shocking and like a youth team player, while also questioning Randall Kolo-Muani and whether he was actually playing. Frank is perhaps losing faith in the Dutch attacking midfielder, given that he was benched on Saturday, although the 22-year-old was brought on after just 7 minutes due to Lucas Bergvall suffering an injury. The former RB Leipzig's impact was minimal, however, failing to create a single big chance or make any key passes, with Kolo-Muani, who is still yet to get off the mark in front of goal, also struggled, recording just 16 touches prior to being replaced by Brennan Johnson. It's still early days for both the Netherlands international and Kolo-Muani, but they must start showing signs of improvement soon, with Tottenham already weighing up new attackers ahead of the January transfer window. Okay, here's my thoughts on all those stories today. Firstly, the snub on Thomas Frank that Chris filmed. Obviously, this has gone viral, this clip, and it's not a good look. It really isn't. Van der Ven, obviously the vice captain in that leadership group, he was slightly, as you look at the image, I'm sure you've all seen it, to the right as you look of Jed Spence, but they both clearly did not want to engage with Thomas Frank at all. And it certainly did look like Frank wanted them to go and applaud the fans and go over to the fans, and neither wanted to. And they both totally blanked and ignored Andreas Georgeson as well, the set piece coach, as they walked towards the tunnel. This isn't a good look. It really annoys me, actually. And if Spence did say what the lip reader says he did, and we've got no proof of that, but I'm just reporting what the lip reader has said it looks like he said. They need to go over to the fans. If they're getting the applause in the good times, and they'll take that applause, they need to go over and almost apologise in the bad times. Both of those players were at fault for the Chelsea goal. Didn't have their best games at all. I think it was probably Van der Ven's worst game in a Spurs shirt, if I'm brutally honest. But yeah, you can't be doing that to your manager. It's not a good look. And the way Thomas Frank turned around and looked at them, he would have been fed up. He would have been really, really annoyed with the pair of them. So, I mean, is that, some would argue, some have argued that Frank's lost the dressing room. I'm not sure that's the case. But when the players start ignoring the manager and give him that disrespect, it really isn't a good look. But one player that would certainly raise the fan base's hopes and dreams would be Harry Kane. People do hate me talking about Harry Kane, but I'm just telling you what's in the reports. And as we all know, Harry Kane has got that option, or Spurs have got the option to go for Harry Kane in January if Harry Kane actually wants to leave Bayern Munich and get that deal done. What a statement that would be from the club if we were to bring back Harry Kane. Can I see it happening? Probably not. To be honest, why would Harry Kane want to come back to Spurs other than sentimental reasons? He's absolutely tearing it up in Germany, scoring goals and providing assists left, right and centre, doing really well. Look, I for one hope Harry Kane wins everything this year, and then perhaps he could come back in the summer thinking that he's won everything and come back to Spurs, come back home. We'll see how that goes. There'll be many more rumours about Harry Kane in January, no doubt, and we'll bring them all to you on this channel. Samuel Agehowa, he's a player that we've been linked with. It's another striker, really good numbers, but again, a player that's not ever played in the Premier League. Could it be a case that, you know, some players do struggle when they come into the Premier League? Look, his numbers are good. I've watched him. I've seen his highlight reel. I've seen Xavi Simons' highlight reel. I've seen Randall Colomboani's highlight reel. Doesn't always go hand in glove, does it? But look, he's a good player. This player, whether he's worth the money they're asking for, I don't know. I couldn't tell you, but that's a bit of a risk spending that much money on a player that's not got any experience in the Premier League. So we'll see how that one goes. But obviously Spurs are going to be in the market for attacking players in January, you would think. The scrutiny on Thomas Frank building, absolutely. I find the football quite boring at the moment, and I'm not as entertained as I've been in previous seasons. Look, Frank needs to change this up. Everybody we had on the fan channel last night, there was nobody really, really positive about Tottenham at the moment. And it goes with the territory that if you're playing boring football at Spurs, you're not going to last long. I'm not saying get rid of Thomas Frank out or anything like that. But you can't come to a club like Tottenham and play that type of football. The fans just won't have it. If we were winning every week, probably they'd put up with it. But you can't play like that at Tottenham. Frank needs to find a way to play more attacking football and really go at teams. I was so disappointed with that Chelsea performance at the weekend and how we didn't go out and didn't lay a glove on them. Terrible performance, probably the worst so far under Thomas Frank. But Frank needs to work with the current squad. Yes, we've got injuries, but he needs to work with them and somehow find a way to make us more attacking and actually go at teams, because we can't be playing like that many more times, or else the fan base are going to turn on Frank, I believe. And finally, Jamie O'Hara. A lot of people don't value his opinion, but he's really weighed in on Xavi Simons and Randall Colomboani. Bit of a small sample size for Colomboani, I would say, and it's difficult for a centre forward to get any momentum or have any shots when you're not being given the ball and given the ball in the right areas. He works incredibly hard, I would say that, but I think for Randall Colomani, we do need to give him a few more games to get up to speed. He's not up to full fitness yet, not ready for 90 minutes, so let's see how that goes. But Javi Simmons, again, a poor performance from Javi Simmons. Look, we need to get behind Javi Simmons. I still think there's a player in there. I'm willing to give him a fair bit of time. He's still adapting, still getting used to the Premier League and the physicality of it. So I, for one, want to see Javi Simmons push on, get more minutes, and hopefully the fan base can get behind him. But as always, get down in the comments, let me know your thoughts on all these stories today and how you're feeling as a Tottenham fan right now. And as always, come on you Spurs.